Every spring for over 20 years, I did the same thing. I drag out the rototiller, spend an entire weekend turning over my garden beds, and finish with an aching back in what I thought was perfectly prepared soil, loose, fluffy, ready to plant. And every year, by midsummer, that soil was hard and compacted again, and I'd wonder what went wrong. Then I learned about a Japanese farmer named Masanobu Fukuoka who hadn't tilled his soil in over 50 years. 50 years. And his farm was producing abundant harvests with soil so rich and alive, it made my garden look like a parking lot. What did he understand that I've been missing my entire gardening life? Today, I'm going to show you why Japanese natural farming avoids tilling entirely and how you can apply these principles to build soil that actually gets better every single year instead of worse. Stick around to the end because I'll share a technique using cover crops that does the work of a tiller without ever disturbing your soil. I'll be honest with you. When I first heard about no-till gardening, I thought it was nonsense. How could you possibly grow anything without preparing the soil first? Tilling was just what you did. My father did it. His father did it. Every gardening book I'd ever read said to do it. But my results told a different story. Every year, I was adding more amendments, working harder and getting less. Then I read Masanobu Fukuoka's book, The One Straw Revolution, and it completely changed how I think about soil. Fukuoka was a Japanese farmer who spent over 50 years developing what he called Shizen no Ho, or natural farming, on his farm in Shikoku, Japan. His core insight was almost embarrassingly simple. Nature doesn't till. Forests produce incredible growth without anyone turning the soil. Prairies build feet of rich topsoil over centuries without a single plow. What if, he wondered, we stopped fighting against how soil naturally works and started working with it instead? Here's the principle that makes everything else make sense. When you till soil, you feel like you're helping it. The soil looks fluffy and workable. But here's what's actually happening beneath the surface. You're destroying the fungal networks that connect plant roots and help them access nutrients. You're collapsing the tunnels that earthworms spent months building, tunnels that provide drainage and aeration. You're inverting soil layers that developed naturally over years. You're bringing buried weed seeds to the surface where they can germinate. And you're exposing organic matter to oxygen, which causes it to burn off rapidly instead of building up. In other words, you're undoing years of natural soil development in a single afternoon. Fukuoka understood that healthy soil is a living ecosystem, not just a medium for holding plants upright, and every time you till, you're hitting the reset button on that ecosystem. His approach was to stop resetting and start building. Here's how to actually apply this in your own garden. The first step is the hardest because it requires you to stop doing something you've probably done your whole gardening life. Put the tiller away. You're not going to need it anymore. Instead, you're going to let mulch do the work that tilling used to do. This is sometimes called sheet mulching or lasagna gardening, but Fukuoka was doing it decades before those terms became popular. Start by mowing or cutting down any existing vegetation in your bed as low as possible. Don't pull it up. Leave the roots in place. They'll decompose and create channels in the soil. Then lay down a layer of cardboard or thick newspaper directly on top of the existing ground. Overlap the edges so no light gets through. This smothers weeds without disturbing the soil. On top of that cardboard, pile 4 to 6 inches of organic mulch, straw, wood chips, shredded leaves, grass clippings, whatever you have access to. This mulch layer does everything tilling claims to do, but better. It suppresses weeds by blocking light. It retains moisture so you water less. It feeds soil organisms as it slowly breaks down. And it protects the soil surface from compaction caused by rain and foot traffic. Over time, earthworms and other soil life will pull that organic matter down into the soil, building fertility from the top down, exactly the way nature does it in a forest. The second step is to create permanent beds and permanent pathways. This is crucial and something most American gardeners get wrong. When you till your entire garden area every year, you're compacting the soil with your feet, then tilling to fix the compaction, then compacting it again. It's a cycle that never ends. Fukuoka's approach eliminates this entirely. Designate specific areas as growing beds and never step on them again. Make your beds narrow enough that you can reach the center from either side, about 3 to 4 feet wide. The pathways between beds can be mulched with wood chips or planted with clover, but the key is that all foot traffic stays on the paths. Your growing beds remain permanently uncompacted because no one ever walks on them. Over seasons, the soil in those beds develops incredible structure. Earthworms create vertical tunnels that go down 2, 3, even 4 feet. Fungal networks spread undisturbed. Root channels from previous crops remain open, creating pathways for water and future roots. Each year, instead of destroying this structure with a tiller, you simply add more mulch on top. The soil keeps improving instead of resetting to zero every spring. If you're starting to see why Japanese farmers approach soil this way, take a second to subscribe. There's a lot more traditional wisdom to share, and I think you'll find it valuable. Now let's talk about how to actually plant in a no-till system. The third step is learning to plant through mulch with minimal disturbance. This is where people often get confused. If you're not tilling, how do you plant? The answer is simpler than you'd think. For transplants, just push the mulch aside. Dig a small hole only as big as the root ball, plant your seedling, and push the mulch back around the stem. You've disturbed maybe 6 inches of soil instead of the entire bed. For direct seeding, create a narrow furrow through the mulch. Sprinkle your seeds, cover lightly with compost or fine soil, and let them germinate. Once seedlings are established, push the mulch back around them. The key insight here is that you only disturb soil exactly where a plant will grow. The vast majority of your bed remains untouched, its ecosystem intact. Compare this to tilling, where you destroy the entire bed's soil structure to plant a few dozen seeds. It's like bulldozing a house to change a light bulb. The fourth step is perhaps the most important mindset shift. You're going to let roots and earthworms do the digging for you. One of the main arguments for tilling is breaking up compacted soil, but here's what Fukuoka observed over 50 years. Tilling creates a cycle of compaction. You till, the soil settles and compacts. You till again, roots and earthworms break that cycle permanently. When you grow deep-rooted plants like daikon radish, comfrey, or dandelions, their roots punch through compacted layers and create channels that remain even after the plant dies and the root decomposes. Earthworms, when left undisturbed, will tunnel several feet deep, creating permanent drainage and aeration. These biological processes build soil structure that lasts. Tilling destroys it and forces you to start over every season. Here's what most conventional gardeners get wrong compared to Fukuoka's approach. The first mistake is tilling to fix compaction. Tilling provides temporary fluffiness, but the soil structure is destroyed, so it compacts again within weeks. Roots and worms create permanent channels. The second mistake is turning under organic matter. Conventional advice says to till in compost and amendments, but this buries organic matter where it decomposes anaerobically and can actually harm soil life. Fukuoka adds organic matter on top and lets soil organisms pull it down naturally. The third mistake is starting fresh every year. Tilling treats each season as a new beginning. No-till treats each season as building on the last. Your third year of no-till soil is dramatically better than your first, and your 10th year is almost unrecognizable. The fourth mistake is thinking bare soil is clean soil. Many gardeners till to create a clean, bare surface for planting, but bare soil erodes, crusts over, and loses moisture rapidly. Fukuoka kept his soil permanently covered with mulch or living plants, protecting that precious surface layer. Now here's the bonus I promised you. If you're transitioning from tilled soil that's severely compacted, there's a technique that does the work of a tiller without any of the damage. Plant cover crops with aggressive root systems. Daikon radish, called tillage radish for exactly this reason, sends a thick taproot down 12 to 18 inches, physically breaking through hardpan. When the radish dies over winter, that root decomposes and leaves a perfect channel behind. Cereal rye grows an incredibly dense fibrous root system that breaks up the top several inches of soil. Crimson clover adds nitrogen while its roots create structure. Plant these cover crops in fall. Let them grow through winter or until they're killed by cold and leave the residue on the surface as mulch. By spring, your soil will have been tilled by roots, not machines, and the biology will be thriving instead of destroyed. That's the Japanese natural farming approach to soil. Stop tilling and start mulching. Create permanent beds you never step on. Plant through mulch with minimal disturbance. Let roots and earthworms build the structure that tilling destroys, and use cover crops to break compaction biologically. It takes patience. The first season, you're building. The second season, you're seeing improvement. By the third season, you'll understand why Fukuoka never went back to tilling. Your soil will be darker, spongier, full of earthworms, and your plants will show it. I spent over 20 years tilling because I thought it was necessary. Now I know it was the very thing holding my garden back. If this changed how you think about working your soil, drop a comment and let me know. Are you going to try transitioning a bed to no-till this season? I'd love to hear about it. And if you want more of these deep dives into traditional growing methods, hit that subscribe button. Thanks for spending time with me today, and I'll see you in the next one.